God, I hate that I have to be Jimmy. I hate it. Like, I know that that's the game's intention. Commit to the parts of his character that are being awful and make you have to protect him and decide for him. Like, that's the real horror of this game. It's not the scary blind horse snake, and it's not the disgusting flesh sounds. It's, you have to be Jimmy. Hello. Welcome back to Therapist Plays Mouthwashing. Okay, on today's episode, we're getting a deeper look into the true horror of this game, which I've come to learn is not actually the situation of being trapped on a derelict spaceship that may be falling apart. The true horror is in our lack of humanity and the perspective that we are forced to take as we navigate this story. However, this does give us a very unique opportunity to explore the complexities of human behavior and how we actually get to a point where we do some of the things that we see ourselves doing in this game. So I'm sure there's still more horror to come, but for now, I hope you enjoy. Hello, and welcome back. All right. We're in kind of a dire moment here in the story. We just found out what happened to Anya in the scene where she spoke with Curly. And although the game has not explicitly told us who the culprit is, I think we can sort of piece things together. Here's the thing. This game continues to give us like the perfect canvas for exploring the functions and dysfunctions of human behavior. And I think this is the moment as well, like that I want to sort of like kind of piece together a lot of what we're seeing so far, which is that like we're in a crisis, right? And everyone is in a crisis in this situation. We're all one in the same like actual circumstantial crisis. Like the ship is fucked, the mission is fucked. We're all in like life-threatening danger all of the time, right? That's a crisis. But every single person is also having their own sub-crisis in the midst of that, right? Anya is having like a personal and safety crisis. Jimmy is having a crisis of personality and like forced leadership, let's say. Dice K is having a crisis of identity and basically fear of having like a shorter than planned life, I guess I want to say. Like he's really going through it. Swansea is having like a relapse sort of crisis, which like this overall circumstantial crisis has sort of like risen to the surface, something that he has actually developed quite good coping skills around. But that's what you'll see is that like today we're going to sort of discuss how coping with a crisis complicates not just the situation that you're in, but like maybe even some of the other behavioral sort of interventions you do on yourself can start to break down when you are in like a higher level crisis, right? Like we're seeing that with Swansea. We're seeing that with Jimmy. Like this situation did not change Jimmy into an asshole. He is already one. Like he did that thing to Anya before the crash, right? This situation did not make him into a monster. It elevated his monstrous qualities that he has some defensive and coping skills to sort of like maintain or at least conceal from other people, right? And same for everyone else. Like everyone is having a crisis. This crisis is making all of their other coping skills disappear, right? So this is really challenging when you're trying to understand like human behavior and also like how to cope with situations like this. Now, hopefully we are not going to be in a situation quite like this, right? Life-threatening danger. But we do end up in crises, right? More so the personal ones that we're seeing, like addiction, safety, existential crisis, right? Curly is also having, he's having also a couple of crises, right? So let's talk about this though, because here's what we're seeing so far, right? And I'm going to simplify this just for brevity's sake, and also just because it's like a very, it's a simple idea actually when you get down to it, right? Which is that like when we have any kind of anxiety, there's two main ways that we try to deal with it, right? We either try to change the situation that we're in that's causing the anxiety, or we try to change how we feel about that situation. Okay, so think about this for a second, right? Sometimes when you're in a crisis, there are things that you can do to like actually change the physical boundaries of that situation, right? We can inject foam into the crevices of the spaceship, right? We can go to the medical locker and get the painkillers, and we could administer the painkillers. So we're trying to take action to minimize the perceived lack of control over the situation, right? And this can relieve some anxiety, like plugging up the spaceship with foam probably like made people feel a little, less in danger, right? Like clearing the pathways to the exits, or like designating a safety area, or making sure that all of the equipment is where you need to be, like the axe and the rope and like all this stuff. Like you're trying to change the situation to reduce your stress. Okay. There's only a certain amount of that you can do though, right? Like at some point there's things about the situation you can't change. So then we have to look this way at what can I do to change how I feel about a situation? Okay. Can I develop like a different perspective around what's happening that allows me to feel more at ease? Can I talk to someone, get my feelings out and organized, and participate in my emotions in a more in-depth and like insightful way, right? Like this may bring some catharsis. It can change how we feel about the situation, right? And this has a lot less limitations, but it's also less concrete. Like it's not so obvious how you change your feelings as it is like these are pretty observable things that you can do, right? So when we look at everyone in mouthwashing, right? Every single person is doing some thing on each side of this equation, right? So if you think about Anya, for example, because we just sort of visited her experience, she brought up the question of like, why are there not locks on the bedroom doors, right? Like she is inquiring, can I change the situation of like the physical environment to increase the safety, right? We also see like when she talks to Jimmy, she is kind of like nice to him. I would say like less so nice, but more like placating. She'll say like, wow, Jimmy, that was a great idea. Like she's basically just trying to keep him from becoming angry at her because she's afraid of him, right? That's the behavior that we're seeing. Like she's trying to change the situation, the problem basically in the situation being Jimmy, which is supposed to help reduce some of that anxiety, right? Now, there's only so much that she can do about that. So she also is doing things to change how she feels about it, right? Someone actually pointed out that it's Anya's sleeping bag here next to the Polly doll or machine, which will activate when someone goes near it and potentially alert her if she's asleep, right? Like it's a little bit of changing the situation, but it's also changing how she feels. She may feel more safe and secure and alerted to reduce this anxiety, right? So like in the crisis situation, she is doing everything she can to prevent another traumatic experience, but also like increase her own perceived amount of control over the situation and how she feels about it. She tried to talk to Curly about things, and Curly was like, he was being an empathetic listener, but he was sort of missing the finer point that she was trying to make, right? Partially because she wasn't being extremely explicit about it. Maybe because she, felt some fear about how she would be judged about it. But she was being quite suggestive, right? Part of that is trying to change the situation because she sees Curly as an authority figure who could maybe do some kind of intervention on Jimmy or to help defend her, right? But it's also changing her feeling by you know, getting out some of those hard to process feelings that she may feel some guilt or shame around, right? So Anya is doing this. Like, we can see that she is doing that. And this is the kind of stuff that I'm looking for when I start working with someone, is like, what are their general strategies for doing something here and here? Does the person have effective ways, like problem solving measurements, to change their environment or get the resources they need to solve a problem? And how do they cope emotionally with those problems, right? And I would say overall, like, Anya, you know, despite being in a crisis and like multiple layers of that, she's doing an effective job, right? Like, she's keeping herself together, defending herself, trying to explore those difficult emotions, trying to like not push anyone away with them, right? But also reaching out for help. So she's doing quite a bit, right? I would find this a very respectable coping strategy. But think about Swansea now. Now, I happen to work quite thoroughly with people in recovery from addiction, so his coping strategy I'm quite familiar with. What we often see with substance use specifically is the situation does not seem like it can be changed very much from Swansea's point of view, right? He can't like redirect the ship. He can't repair it, right? Like the maintenance room is like fucked up or something. The Pony Express is like out of business, so you can't go yell at them. Like he's finding no avenue to change his situation. So he's going immediately to, can I change how I feel about it, right? And how he's doing that is by self-soothing, essentially, self-medicating with the mouthwash, right? And this is where things kind of become dysfunctional, because like our strategy for dealing with how we feel about things is often to either suppress those emotions, lock them down, or just cover them up with substances, right? And like, it's only effective at changing how he feels about a situation, but it doesn't do much to address like anything over here. And it's also very temporary, right? It's not actually improving how he feels about a situation. It's just kind of like dulling his sensitivity to it in a sense, right? And that's a fundamental problem with addiction, is like, what I'm trying to do is help people develop skills to, one, perceive their level of control over the situations in their lives and develop good skills of dealing with them. Maybe those are communication skills. Maybe they are the confrontation skills that we talked about. Maybe it is like how you give and receive feedback. Maybe it is how you withstand your own traumas, right? But also, can we develop some skills to better cope with situations when we can't do anything about that? And can we proactively and actively cope like in healthy ways, right? So on the scale of like who's doing a good job here, Anya's doing a pretty damn good job given the situation. Swansea, less so. Jimmy, horrible job at all of this, right? Because what is Jimmy trying to do? Okay. Jimmy is having a lot of anxiety. You know, like, he's a human like Daisuke and Swansea and Anya and Curly and you and me, and he's not a particularly good human, but we do have to share the title with him, unfortunately, and people like him. And so like, he's got anxiety, right? And like, what is he trying to do? He's trying to change the situation by like, he's doing all these like tasks. He's doing the painkillers thing. He's like running around, like doing small objectives that like kind of change the situation, but it's not leading to like a dramatic improvement, right? And I think he's coming more this way because he's doing an even worse job with changing how he feels about the situation, which is not looking inward to his own emotions, like we talked about. He's pushing off the responsibility to Daisuke and Swansea and Anya. Like, he's not accepting his own uncomfortable feelings at all, and he's just kind of directing them to other people. So it's like his way of like making himself feel better, but again, it's not really doing anything to change how he feels. And then we have Daisuke, who like, this poor kid, what is he doing? Well, he's really not seeing a lot he can do about the situation either. I mean, he can like advocate to people he thinks can do something, like he just came to Jimmy, right? And he's also like having a hard time changing how he's feeling, as we can see, right? Like, And he's young. Like, you know, give him some credit. He's doing a decent job, not having any training or skills in either of these two areas, right? And so it's good to keep all of this in mind. Like when we look at any of the characters in this situation, what their behaviors are, good and bad alike, they're about this. Like, you know, the thing that Jimmy did, probably something like trying to change how he feels about some really deep insecurity that he has, right? Some sort of sick empowerment need or like lack of ability to get love and belonging in a natural way. And so it's just enforced. And so this is like just good to keep in mind for like everything that we see here, right? It's all kind of revolving around this. Every behavior that we're seeing is like, how can we make this situation even marginally better by either changing that situation, doing things to change it, or is there a way that we can adjust how we feel, right? And I think later we'll probably get into some more specifics of like, what's a healthy way to kind of navigate some of this stuff. But let's see how this scene plays out. What's going on, Daisuke? Jimmy, it's a total emergency. Calm down. What is it? Anya's stuck in medical. The door won't open. What if she runs out of something? Right. Let's go have a look. Okay. Again, you can see like just the lack of emotion in Jimmy in this scene. Like he's much more change a situation kind of guy because I think he doesn't have access to like a healthy way of dealing with his emotions, right? Which is really unfortunate for him and everyone around him. Where is she? Hurry, we gotta hurry. Go, go, go. Where? Oh, okay. I just needed his help. Anya, I brought Jimmy. We're here to rescue you. Don't worry. Don't panic. And you can see that people also try to like help others in this situation, right? Like trying to say, whether it's Jimmy saying, calm down, Daisuke, or he's trying to say, don't panic, Anya. Like they're also trying to suggest ways for the person they're talking to change how they feel about a situation. It's like much less effective than like if you can sort of regulate your own emotions, but it is partially why we do it, right? Okay. Oh, here we go. Hey, heard the lock's broken. The fact that this involves like a locked door is just, I mean, the writing is so on point, but man, this is... Hey, Anya, can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear you, Jimmy. The rest of our medicine stash is in there too. Damn, this could be bad. Did you try to really put your back into it? Any wrenches laying around? How heavy is the med kit? Anya, is the door stuck? No. Huh? What do you mean? Look, we're all stressed. Yeah, that's evident. But you can't go breaking down at every little hardship. Oh, fuck off, Jimmy. Open the damn door. You were right. You were right all along. I should have done this from the beginning. I always believed that our worst moments didn't define us, didn't make us beyond repair. You think I wanted this either? Make no mistake, this isn't my worst moment. Far from it. It's the best decision I'll ever make. What the fuck is about to happen here? Open the door. I'll take care of it. Anya! What does that mean? Curly is still in there with her, right? Yeah, you don't think... Daisuke? You and Swansea knew the internals of the ship better than anyone. There's absolutely no other way into medical? Well, Swansea said it was strictly off limits, like super mega not allowed above all else. The utility room. That busted vent in there loops into medical. But I mean, technically a person could totally fit through it. If that's the only way, we'll make it work. You listening, Anya? Fine. Come on, Daisuke. So again, what are we trying to do here? trying to change the situation. It's just, it always comes down to like one of those two things, right? Every decision that moves us forward is trying to increase our perceived level of control over the situation in a crisis, or really just in any sort of obstacle that's in your way. It doesn't even have to be in a crisis. Swansea, we need your help. I know you said utility was dangerous, but I'm good right here, fellas. You know I'm not letting you in there. Off limits. Look, if there's any possibility, Jimbo, letting you scratch at that foam wall would be useless. You'd only tear this goddamn ship a new asshole. Nothing to be done about it. Bad luck. Tail missed the donkey. So it's that self-defeated feeling that comes about when, like, we come up against a wall, right? And we say, oh, there's nothing I can do to change this situation. The only thing I can do is change how I feel. And unfortunately, like, that's what's caused him to resort to this, like, a more so self-harming way of dealing with that feeling, right? And this is, like, pretty common for anyone who goes to that extreme level of emotional regulation, right? Like, there's all kinds of situations in our lives we feel out of control of. When you get broken up with, you can't change that situation. That situation involves someone else's desires, which are no longer compatible with you or don't include you. I mean, you can try all you want to sort of like convince that person, like you can change the situation a little bit, but when it involves other people, no, you sort of have to turn to, well, how do I change how I feel? Well, a lot of people just will go to the next relationship, right? And they'll try to improve their self-confidence by getting someone else, right? Does this really improve how you feel about things, though? Does this really, like, resolve the sense of rejection and inadequacy? Less so, right? I feel like the wrong lesson gets learned there. You get fired from a job, or you get let go, right? Or, like, just plans fall through. Not much you can do to change those situations. We struggle with acceptance of that, and so we come up with, like, sometimes very self-destructive ways of dealing with our feelings about them, right? And that's what makes this so complicated. Like, I've made this out to be quite simple, but, like, this is pretty hard for most people, and this is, like, way harder, right? Like, this is what justifies my whole profession, basically, is, like, teaching people better ways to do that, right? When situations can't be changed. But Swansea, this could really be bad. Just hear us out. We're God's hand-picked favorites on this here planet, I reckon. Means we get to name it. So let's hear it for Wake Rock. Whatever's going on anywhere else ain't my problem, since I'm the happiest man Wake Rock has ever seen. Let's just go, Daisuke. There's no point with him. Ooh. Where are we going now? 8 hours till judgment. Don't do anything. Stop, stop, stop. I can fix this. Why do you keep fucking saying that? Are you hearing yourself? Oh, fuck, dude. What is happening to Daisuke? I'm sorry. Oh, this fucking poor kid. We still have disinfectant, right? The one from the extra medical stash? Get it. Now. The cocktail, The cocktail? What are you blabbering about? That was your fault. You would never have... I had no choice. You useless, you goddamn fucking idiot. There has to be something else. Yeah, okay. Fucking Jimmy, still not taking responsibility for anything. All right, we gotta find the disinfectant. What the fuck? What the fuck is this? Why can't I see what... What is going on? What am I missing here? Is this like my brain literally rejecting like whatever is here? Because Jimmy doesn't want to take responsibility for something that happened here? Oh, this is fucked. I'm already looking in here. At least try to make yourself useful. God damn it! Oh, and actually this is where we're seeing Swansea, like, he's actually trying more so now to change the situation, right? Partially, it seems because it involves Daisuke. You know, there were moments earlier where, like, Swansea was having a quite confrontational relationship with him, but you can see that when it actually comes down to it, he actually cares a lot about him, obviously. And when you contrast that with, like, how defeated he felt when it really was just involving his own feelings, like, yeah, he kind of resorted to, like, self-destruction. But knowing that someone else's life is in danger, like, he's really kind of rising to the occasion there, whereas Jimmy is really fumbling this one. Jimmy more so is actually reverting back this way, like, that whole, like, it's not my fault, it's your fault, it's someone else's fault, like, he's changing how he feels about it to basically deny that he needs to accept the discomfort of, I did something wrong, I'm a bad person. Classic deflection. And that's unfortunate because people who don't know how to deal with how they feel about things, well, they often don't respect other people's attempts to do that either, right? Because I don't think he really considers this a viable way of dealing with things. Like, it leads to a lot of blame and finger pointing about, why didn't you do that, right? Like, we've already seen him give this commentary, and not even considering, like, how people feel about things, because he himself does not know how to operate on that side of things. Just completely unadjusted to what that's even supposed to look like. What is this? Who is this for? Oh, I need the... do I have the... What? Wait, what? Did that just... what just happened? Where are we going, Jimmy? What dark depths of your mind are we heading into? This is what happens. This is what happens when you don't deal with how you feel about things. Things turn into a fucking nightmare. Shit. What have we done? Those flashes are, like, just quick enough to, like, show your brain, but it's hard to actually parse what it says sometimes. Okay, we're in storage. A blind beast, aimless and restless. You can't run from it. Dragon breath, mouthwash. Where are we going, Jimmy? What the fuck? Is that Polly? Is that fucking Polly? It's Polly! You can't run from it, okay. Oh my god. Fuck! Be quiet. Okay, so I need to not run. Okay, here it comes. Don't run from it. Oh, I can actually see it moving. keep going. I'm still safe. Don't fuck me up, Polly. Don't fuck me up. Oh my god, this is such nightmare fuel. God, I hate that I have to be Jimmy. I hate it. Like, I know that that's the game's intention, is to develop a character that is, like, very hard to relate to. Give him just enough relatability that, like, it humanizes him, but then, like, commit to the parts of his character that are fucking awful and make you have to protect him and decide for him. Like, that's the real horror of this game. It's not the scary blind horse snake, and it's not the disgusting flesh sounds. It's, you have to be Jimmy. And especially for me, who likes to roleplay, that is, like, especially horrific. Oh, man. I must be close now. Okay, there's Polly. I'm here. I'm here. Take the mouthwash. Okay, I got it. Use the mouthwash. I'm sorry. I messed up. Don't try to talk. He doesn't even try to, like, say, like, oh, it's not your fault. Because he doesn't believe that. Ah, fuck. Okay, the, like, chapters are getting shorter and shorter. Like, things... The fucking whiplash is getting to me. I think the vent and utility connects to medical. But you heard what he said. Going in there now. It's too unstable. Trying to break the foam could risk the air seal. I just don't want to fuck it up again, like I did before. You heard Anya. I wouldn't put it past her to do something extreme right now. You and me, Daisuke. We can save Curly, yeah? Swansea won't help, so we'll figure it out ourselves. Right. All right. Yeah. We got this. But even before the foam, how do we even get the door to utility open? Swansea's been practically camping in front of the door, and he has the key. I have an idea. You're going to have to trust me. We need to knock him out. You're gonna fight him? No. Even he has to have his limits when it comes to booze. We make him pass out. Simple, safe. He might not even realize we did anything after the fact. This is one of those moments where it fucking sucks to be a therapist, because I read stuff like that and I know, like I talked about last time, that people, they tend to act and think in patterns, right? I'll bring up my model that I just talked about. Like, Jimmy clearly thinks through problems in a very sort of specific way, right? The situation is I need to get into the medical room. What can I do? Well, I can try to change the situation. We can go through the door, right? I can't really change how I feel about fucking anything because I'm a completely dysfunctional asshole. So maybe what I can do is like change the situation by like harming someone else. The fact that he came to this specific conclusion, he might not even realize we did anything after the fact. There's a disturbing likelihood that that is exactly what he thought about the situation with Anya too. This is clearly a pathway that his mind has found as an effective problem-solving solution, right? Which is why I say that this is like, you know, people have these patterns of dysfunctional coping, right? Some of us fall into addiction by not knowing how to change how we feel about things. Some of us become antagonistic or fight people or hurt people because we think that that's like how you move obstacles away from a situation. And you don't really have a lot of concern about like the impact on other people. There's a recipe for a mocktail in the kitchen. We can follow the steps but use different ingredients to add kick to it. Come on. I fucking hate that it makes me do this. This kind of feels like a heist movie. And look what he's doing. Look what he's doing. He's trying to like make this make sense in his mind. Like, cause it doesn't. It fucking doesn't. He can't change the situation. Jimmy is in charge right now. The only thing he can do is like try to self-soothe and like try to sort of dissociate and like in his like very childish mind make it out to be like something cinematic. Like it's humorous, just the way he's saying it, but it's so sad actually because it's a coping mechanism. It is a coping mechanism to make himself believe that what he's about to do, which he knows is wrong, is actually necessary for survival. And here is where I show you my crystal ball that allows me to fucking see into the future. Holy shit. Like I said, sometimes it sucks to read people. It's especially hard when I know that like a good kid like Daisuke in better circumstances wouldn't even consider this kind of stuff, but he's in a crisis. Like part of what makes this whole dynamic that I'm talking about challenging is like, right, the level of anxiety that you have also matters, okay? I've talked about this before in terms of like stress, but like just speaking in terms of crisis, right? This is like your crisis zone. Like your average like level of stress, you know, 1 to 3, like this is just your regular life problems, right? Bigger stuff, you know, relationship problems, work problems, financial stressors, like maybe they exist somewhere here. Like you're stressed about them, but you can still live your life. Like crisis mode is this top range where our decision making becomes like way less effective. Our rationalization of those decisions becomes quite skewed by the survival instinct, right? And so like when we're talking about crisis management from a therapeutic point of view, we're trying to teach skills that are about dealing specifically with these two things, but especially at that top range, right? The goal is not to go from here to here. Like, that's just not realistic. Like, to go from extremely stressed to like not stressed at all. Our goal in crisis management is actually just like, can we get you from a 10 to a 9? Like, can we just change how you feel about a situation, right? Which is maybe doing a deep breathing exercise. Like, it's not going to change the situation. It's not going to make the world any different, but it may bring just your like physical stress levels down, give you some homeostasis, right? Lower your heart rate, and you are way more effective at deciding what to do in that crisis at a 9 than you were at a 10, right? Can we get you from a 9 to an 8? Can we go get something like a weapon of self-defense? Can we plan out where the exit pathways are, right? Like any amount of things that we can do to get us from a 9 to an 8. And can we do one more thing, right? Maybe talk to someone about what your plan is to get some feedback on it and collaborate with someone or whatever to get you to a 7. Like, you're not going to be able to solve all of your anxiety, especially in a crisis, but we have to get you out of this range, right? And that's what crisis management skills are often about, is just, can we reduce the highest level of intensity? Because here you have access to a lot better skills, like your normal coping skills. Your coping skills up here are like really designed for fight or flight, right? And so you can see that we're all up here with, you know, like, and we're quite extreme in how we're addressing that. And so obviously the goal, like if you're in that crisis, is to try to get down here, but then there's also preventative strategies from keeping us to go that high to begin with, right? Which is like a whole other space to work in therapeutically. Okay. Okay, I guess we're trying to make the mocktail, right? Tonic, cake, drink. Okay, mix mouthwash and isopropyl. So, isopropyl, mouthwash. Mocktail. Plain cocktail. Okay. Fucking isopropyl alcohol and mouthwash. My goodness. It'd be nice if we could throw a little bit of sweetener in there, little Swansea. You taken to teaching my intern now? I personally try to educate based off years of experience. But that's just me, Captain. Oh, I love his his passive aggression. But you can see that he's quite observant, right? He's observant that, like, Jimmy's just taken over Daisuke in this situation because he knows he can influence him. He doesn't really give a shit about him. Can't use this here. Well, what the fuck am I supposed to do with it then? Not even Swansea would drink this. Oh, I guess he wouldn't drink it. Well, how do I get him to drink it then? We're out of sweetener. Any ideas? I might have accidentally at some point mistakenly misplaced a few packets before, by accident. Right. You could take a look around my stuff. Could be somewhere around there. But also totally somewhere else. Who knows? Anything's possible. The crasher jumbled everything up. Oh, this poor kid. Okay. Oh, there's a sweetener. He's got like a Game Boy and a comic and some little weights. Just that little bit of environmental storytelling is... It's so nice, but it's so fucking heartbreaking. Like, he's still... There's still a desire for escapism with the comic, and I think that says, like, gaming, yeah. There's still a desire for escapism. There's still a desire to have fun. There's still a desire for self-improvement. And also just these are his things. Like, having possessions still makes him feel like he has a bit of humanity in this very inhumane scenario. What happens to you, Daisuke? Okay. A little bit of sweetener. Spiked cocktail. All right. Now Swansea may be up for it. It's just there. Yeah, this is totally not suspicious at all. The fuck is that? Look, we need to keep working together. If this is how I can get us through this without being at each other's necks all the time, then yeah, give it here. We kind of freestyled the recipe. Yeah, I can tell you had a hand in this monstrosity, kid. You ain't no mixologist. Sure as hell ain't no mechanic either. You never should have come here. Who the fuck even decided to let you board, huh? Stick the idiot with a bunch of sad sack adults and see what he learns, eh? Bootstraps and all that. What a load of horse shit. You think it's all going somewhere, but every failure leaves you a little more mangled than before. Older, uglier, meaner, smarter, in a worse way. Wallowing doesn't suit you, Swansea. I suppose you think we should all be acting like you. Our hardworking, esteemed captain. say take a load off before the sun finally sets on this party. May we never go to hell, but always be on our way. Ah, this is fucked up. The fact that we got this poor kid involved in this is just so fucked. Is he still breathing? He practically bounced off the ground. He'll be fine. His tolerance has to be through the roof by now. Probably just wake up with a massive headache. Oh man, he's gonna be so mad. I'll never get a good reference now. Yeah. So modeling is also really important. Okay, just as a sort of tangent. Like when we were Curly and we were listening to Anya talk about her experience, obviously that's a very different situation, but what I was thinking about as well was like when I am in a session with someone and I'm occupying a similar role, even if just like, you know, being an empathetic listener, because like my objective when someone is discussing something that happened to them is not to help them do this, right? Like change the situation that they're in, because it's not really my role in their life. My role is to really deal more with this side of things, right? And part of becoming better equipped at dealing with your feelings is modeling for that person what the standard of emotion can be related to that subject. So if someone were talking to me about a traumatic experience like Anya's, it is not appropriate for me as the therapist to have a big reaction to that and be like, oh, that's so horrible, right? Like, because what I'm doing is like showing that this is like something worthy of a lot of intense judgment, which is not the perception I want her or anyone else to have about their experience, right? The whole goal is to be non-judgmental about the fact that you experienced something that was out of your control. If I dismiss it and say, well, that wasn't a big deal, I'm also doing poor modeling. So I don't want to be too high and I don't want to be too low. I want to be neutral, right? I want to keep my tone neutral. You see that like when I get serious, I tend to, you know, neutralize my tone and I sort of speak at a very like just calming, yeah, just a neutral tone, right? That's practice. It's practice because like I'm intentionally trying to do that. I'm intentionally trying to model a just acceptable range of intense emotion in discussing this subject, because what it does is it shows to the person that one, they're in a safe enough space to discuss that thing, which they may feel very challenged to talk about. But two, it gives them a baseline for like, oh, I've told someone about this thing I'm very shameful of and they didn't have a big reaction, or they didn't have a dismissive reaction, right? Curly had a bit of a not a dismissive reaction, but he just wasn't perceptive enough to see what was going on, right? But he was still keeping himself neutral, which I think is why Anya felt safe enough to even come close to talking about the subject. So like, this is great for therapy, obviously. I want to hold space for what can be big emotions, but I don't want to amplify them and I don't want to suffocate them. I want to be, you know, neutral and model that. It's also good for leadership. It's also good for parenting. Again, some of the skills of like mental health are transferable into these other roles, right? Where like, if I'm trying to navigate us through this crisis, where do I want to be at? Do I want to be showing everyone that I'm up here with them? I think Jimmy thinks he's doing that by like being very unemotional about things, but like he should be emotional. This situation fucking sucks. It's scary, right? He should be modeling like an acceptable range and like a healthy way of dealing with problems. What he's modeling to Daisuke is like, let's harm someone else to get what we want so that we can break into the medical facility to like stop Anya from protecting herself from me. Like that's what he's showing. And look at the impact that it's having. Like it's not working, Jimmy. You're not teaching him a lesson at all. In fact, what Swansea was just doing, I feel really awkward about just like talking about them while they're in this state. But what he just said about like, oh, I prefer to lead by experience. Even though he was being like critical and, you know, kind of talking shit, he was modeling better than Jimmy is for Daisuke. Like he was modeling like, you know, a stern sort of like withered, but authoritative, but still convicted sort of like very Swansea type personality, right? Which is at least more effective than like unemotional, psychologically compromised, harming people, going to extreme measures, fucking poisoning someone. One, it's confusing. Two, it's not teaching a good lesson. So yeah, this is quite bad. Okay, so now we can get in here, I guess. Use the key. Oh, and it's a swan for Swansea. Captain, are you sure about this? Maybe we could talk with Swansea when he's cleared up a bit later. He's just like really into workplace safety and stuff sometimes, you know? Which is like totally cool and stuff, I think. He taught me. It's time to be brave, Daisuke. Okay. Knowing what happened, like, I guess it was probably like 20 minutes ago in this playthrough, but in the actual game, it was like 30 seconds ago. We're probably about to go in here and get Daisuke hurt. Like, we convinced him that it was an important thing and an act of good leadership to fucking poison Swansea, and then probably send Daisuke in here, and Daisuke has the right. He learned the right lessons from Swansea. You can see that even though the leadership relationship is a bit confrontational, he learned something. He learned what Swansea's priorities are. He learned that safety is important. The delivery mechanism wasn't like maybe the best, but he modeled better behaviors and better standards of like work and environmental safety. And Jimmy's like overriding that. And in fact, he's like convincing him that this very unsafe thing is about, don't be such a pussy, Daisuke. It's time to be brave. Curly and Anya are counting on us. So fucking manipulative. Holy shit. You're about to get this kid nearly killed, if not actually killed. Wait. Whoa, it's like barely foamed up at all. Hey, it's those things. I've never been inside one. What are they called again? Cryostasis pods. Oh yeah, these things are far out. Totally sci-fi. Oh, looks like this one still works. How long can these things even keep you frozen? 20 fucking years. I can't believe Swansea managed to clear all the foam from here. He didn't. What? Think about it. Swansea never let you work with him on breaking the utility room foam wall, right? No. It needed to be handled delicately. He said I have way too much athletic strength in my arms. I would have just torn right through the foam. I was like, damn. Makes total sense. Bummer. So I've been in charge of the kitchen instead. He said it's next level critical to keep stock and organize every day. He had me double, triple, quadruple check everything, like all the time. Right, of course. And he never told you he'd gotten in here? No. But look how busy he must have been. There was never any foam here. And Swansea is known the whole damn time. Just taking a load off before the sun finally sets on this party, huh? That boozed up bastard has been biding his time until he can save himself. Oh, okay, we're projecting now. You're making it out to seem like everyone else is just as avoidant of responsibility as you are, Jimbo. Would getting in the pod really mean you'd get rescued? 20 years, more of a chance to get found. I'd take those odds over our current situation. Not like this, though. Not by lying through my teeth while waiting for everyone else to die. This is the real sick part about, like, these kinds of manipulation tactics. Jimmy's actually convinced that he's doing the right thing. Like, he knows he's manipulating, but he actually has convinced himself that it's like in everyone else's best interest. And that he's the one being truthful. Well, he's being honest. That's for sure. He's honest in his intentions to not take responsibility, to blame other people. to actively harm someone else to get what he wants. Like, he's not withholding those things. Like, he just is straight up going for them. And he's convinced himself that, like, honesty is the highest virtue in this situation. More so than any sort of, like, I don't know, moral responsibility he has to his crew members or just fellow people, right? The new authority position that he has to make sound decisions that are to the benefit of everyone and not just himself. And to not personalize things like this, right? A good leader would look at this and say, wow, Swansea was trying to protect himself or maybe someone else. No, he goes right to assuming that this must have been out of self-interest. Why? Because that's what I would do. Sick. No, man, that just can't be right. I'm sure there's a reason. We'll ask him about it when he wakes up. We'll deal with him after. Please don't. Please don't deal with him. Right now we have a job to finish. And the vent looks like it's still in one piece. Whoa, check out those sparks. I hate to imagine how gnarly it looks on the inside. Are we about to send him up there? It could be somewhat collapsed in places. God damn it! You could make it through. We need to try it. Swansea said it's not safe. I know he forgot to tell us about the pod, but he knows, like, everything about this kind of stuff. Maybe we should just wait for him to wake back up. You can see, again, like, the repetition. People repeat things. When they're not, like, received, right? We'll try to keep, you know, repeating it and changing up how we get it until we feel like the person is... We're sort of assessing whether it's going to be listened to. And he said multiple times, like, yeah, let's just wait till he wakes up. Like, he clearly doesn't want to do this. And Jimmy cannot fucking pick up on that. Or even worse, he does pick up on it and doesn't care. You set... This is a fucking monster. Swansea taught you well, right? Time to prove it. He'll be impressed when he wakes up. Proud. What a fucking emotional leech thing to say. This is what's so sick, is that Jimmy actually does have the emotional insight to see that Daisuke cares about that. He can see it just well enough in his personality, in the way that he, you know, looks up to him, is still considering Swansea's point of view, even after he just did something to hurt him, is still relying on lessons he learned from him. He sees the impression that that's made on him. He's aware of it. He has the insight to detect that that's something Daisuke cares about, but only just enough to leverage it. Which is the real sign of a sick fucking person. This is not someone who has no capacity to detect emotions. He can detect them just fine. The only purpose that he would, though, is so that he can use them to his advantage. To not put himself in danger and to not take responsibility. And I think that is probably the most sickening part of this character. I feel so many mixed things because, like, holy shit, this character is well written to be awful, and holy shit, making me play as him and take the point of view to do these things is, like, really fucking up my own emotions and making me roleplay this shit. But I'm glad that they have, because it's giving us, like I said, a great canvas to explore, you know, the real consequences of, like, essentially what I'm talking about this whole episode is, I think that this is the result of not knowing or caring enough to bother learning how to deal with your own shit, right? Or not being open to letting someone else help you deal with your own shit. It's all situational control. That's the only thing that matters, external control. Avoidance or suppression of the internal means you just don't care about anyone else's feelings. You only care just enough to manipulate them. He'll understand why we had to do this. Then he can explain himself. You think so? Daisuke, everyone's counting on you. Captain's orders. Yeah, I got this. Okay, here we go. I don't even want to watch this. Anya? What did you do? Oh my god. This just got so much more complicated. Maybe Anya felt that, like, that was Jimmy coming in and she set some sort of trap for him. Oh, this just got so... I said that last time, that this got so much worse, but this just got so much worse! So, in an act of good modeling for my dear community here, as we finish out the episode, I'm going to take my neutral therapist tone to model for you emotional composure in dealing with these things. I'm going to do as much as I can to change the situation by talking about it, exploring it, giving you perspective and insight on how to address similar things in your own life. And for my own distress of playing this game, I'm going to do a little something to deal with my own how do I change how I feel about something coping skills. But I'm going to need some help. Genuinely, one of the most self-soothing things that you can do is animal therapy. There's just something really special and unique about the feeling of, like, connection with a creature, because there's no mistaking what you feel from them. You know, it's love. I'm never confused about whether my cat's mad at me. I'm never confused about whether it wants something from me that I can't give it, right? She's not confused about what any of my intentions or priorities are in the relationship. Like, it's a very simple relationship with an animal. And it doesn't even need to be your own animal. Like, you know, equine therapy is a great intervention, especially actually for people in recovery. Because many of the people struggling with addiction, right, that fundamental problem of not having healthy ways of dealing with how they feel about things comes from, like, maybe it was poor modeling when they were growing up. Maybe there was a parent of theirs that struggled with addiction, and that's what they saw, right? Maybe they didn't have a strong sense of love and belonging. And so, like, having people interact with animals, whether that's dogs or cats or horses or animals that we associate with having, like, emotional sensitivity and somewhat readable emotions, it makes them feel like they're getting a connection and affection that they don't have to wonder if they deserve. Many times the confusion of healing from some of that stuff is, if I've been in addiction and I've, you know, harmed people or whatever, or if I have, like, you know, a rough history and I'm trying to rehabilitate myself from that, there's often a question of, like, do I deserve any of this? Do I deserve to be welcomed back into people's lives I may have hurt, right? Do I deserve forgiveness? Do I deserve a place in society? It's easier to come up with an answer to that when you're dealing with just an impartial creature who doesn't know how complicated the world is, and doesn't know all the bad stuff that you've done, and doesn't know that you're insecure. And they may not even know, like, the impact that they're having on you, but I think that just makes it such a pure connection. And so, yeah, whenever I am feeling like part of my world and situations are not able to be controlled, like I always rely on like, this can help me change my feeling. And again, it's not about solving all the problems. Can I just bring myself down like one level, you know? Because I know that if I get a little bit of love in my heart, then whatever problem solving I need to do or other coping skills I need to do, I'm going to be in a much better state of mind to actually use them properly. So I'm very grateful for this. And I don't want to be stingy and only do one of them. So here is the other one, who is much less tolerant of that kind of affection, but well, we have different ways of showing love. Her way of showing is leaving a mark with all this cat hair. So I think that's where we're going to pause it today. Yeah, this actually wasn't the last episode of Mouthwashing. It seems like we still have another chapter to go into. So I will see you again quite soon, hopefully. I won't say if this is going to be the last episode. I'm extremely bad at predicting how long it takes me to do things. See my Disco Elysium episode count that was supposed to be done last summer for evidence of that. So there could be anywhere between 1 and 10 episodes of Mouthwashing coming soon. And with that, I want to say thank you again for watching and enjoying this series, and I will see you again very soon. Take care.